All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Ambiance Podcast. Joining me, we got Tom representing Prep. It's a band based in London, UK, right?
Yeah, we're in London.
Awesome. How are things out there right now? I know over here in the US in the States, we don't really have an idea about what's going on over there. So how's everything with the pandemic, and how's everything with you and the band?
It's we're in that funny stage where they started to loosen the rules a bit, and everyone's realised that actually that means it's starting to kind of spread a little bit again. So I guess everyone's feeling a little bit like it's been a kind of dose of reality over the last couple of days. We've had months of, I mean, like you guys, I guess, proper like lockdown, bars, restaurants, everything shut, periods where we had to be at home, and it all went kind of pretty weird. Um, and then they started, yeah, opening up pubs, and they opened up restaurants like maybe a kind of month or so ago, and the parks were filling up again, and people were being a bit more normal with each other on the street and all of that. And they were talking about like maybe starting to look at sports coming back with a crowd, and theatre, maybe some like music stuff with with an audience inside. But they literally said this morning, yesterday, that that's not going to be happening. They
Oh,
basically
really?
kind of pressed pause on the kind of the coming out of lockdown. So yeah, it feels like it's about to tighten up a little bit again, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, that kind of sounds pretty similar to the situation that we're in. Things were on lockdown for a while, then things opened up, then now outbreaks are happening again, and it's just really a crazy time to be in with the unexpected constantly coming. How has that kind of affected you in prep, as far as just you guys working together, and then also I know you guys are definitely taking a hit from not having live performances as well, right?
Yeah, that's a real shame. I mean, we were going to be playing some like really exciting shows in May, and that all kind of fell apart very quickly. We've been looking at kind of what we might do end of this year, and then those plans disintegrated quite quickly. Then it's like spring, and no one's quite sure about that. So I mean, there's some people out there I've spoken to who are involved in that kind of quite big live music touring operations, saying they're just like counting off next year. That they're not really looking at anything to 2022.
Wow,
It's
2022.
really, yeah. I mean, I think it's uh, it's just so hard to know, isn't it? It's so hard to know, and we can look at kind of booking a tour, and the idea that if we're moving from country to country, say, things could change so quickly with a border getting shut or a flare up somewhere, and suddenly like the whole tour is just thrown into disarray.
So what
Um,
what tour did you guys have scheduled?
well, I mean, the things we're really hoping we can do as early as possible next year is come back to America. So we were in America just before lockdown. That's like the last bit of touring we did, I guess, start
Wow,
of the year,
okay.
and going to Asia as well.
Wow. I'll have to
Um,
catch you next time you come down to that Los Angeles area. For sure, I have
yeah,
to
yeah,
catch a show.
do. Yeah, we had a great show. We played at we played at the Echo
Oh,
last
the
time.
Echoplex.
It was
I
wicked.
love
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
Echoplex.
yeah, yeah. Great venue, proper venue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very proper. What do you miss most about live performances? Because I'm sure that just doing what you do for so long, you must miss it a lot, obviously. But what do you miss most about it?
It's a funny one. It's almost like quite painful to think about it, because we had basically we've been making an album. We've been making an album, and the timing of this whole like weird lockdown thing worked kind of well for that. So
Okay.
we were so excited about all this touring, and then we said goodbye to it, and like we're not going to think about that. We're just going to see this as a kind of gift of time to finish making the record.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
Suddenly there's this. We're looking at like months with not very much other stuff happening. We don't need to all be in the same place because we've done most of that stuff already. We can just be passing files back and forth, and it's been kind of perfect because I think we didn't realize how much work there was to be done on the record, and I mean, it's been mastered like literally today. So
Wow.
we kind of just made our deadline, and I don't know how that would have worked out if we'd been doing all the touring as well we're supposed to be doing. But yeah, I haven't really. I mean, the thing that is really kind of painful to think about is when we might get to take this record out and play it to people, because that's when songs, they really kind of become real in a way when you
Yeah.
perform them to an audience. You know, it's one thing to put a record out and see the response and kind of, hear stuff on the radio. That's all really exciting. But that moment when you first play something in front of a crowd, you kind of instantly understand the song in a completely different way. It's a bit like, I think, when you play, you play a song you really like to a
Yeah.
friend, and you kind of, even without them saying anything, you kind of hear it in a different way. You just
Yeah.
kind of, you feel it in a different way because you're kind of hearing it through their ears.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like that magnified by all these people in a room. And
And you
so, yeah,
could
I
you
don't know
can
when that's
kind of
going to happen.
you can judge the crowd and see kind of get a good feel if on whether or not people are really rocking with your music, or
Yeah,
really right now it's just like all you have to tell by is just the numbers, rather than like an actual atmosphere of people vibing to your music, which I'm
yeah,
sure is pretty difficult.
exactly, exactly. And, for all of the kind of little, we've done a couple of little kind of lockdown videos and
Mm,
tried to do some stuff remotely, but it's so hard with time lags over, whatever kind of software you're
right.
using.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's no substitute for getting in a room with people.
Mm-hmm.
And
100%.
everyone needs it, don't they? We're all kind of crying out for it, I think, and it's
Yeah.
just,
I
who
think
knows when it's going to
everybody's
be possible.
really, really eager to get back out there and see live performances. And one of the one of the biggest struggles, I think, for me at least, and probably for others, is just that you don't really there's no really light at the end of the tunnel for this, because it would be different if there was this like, okay, this is going to be over in January of next year, then we could go back to going to live shows. But it's like we don't even know when the end date is, which is one of
Yeah,
the biggest bummers of everything. And it also affects different things for you, like you said, with your records, like the rollout period, like when you roll music out, I'm sure that you plan around shows and you plan your marketing around different events like that. So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
is that another kind of period of adapting that you have to fit into your guys' band's schedule for rolling out music?
Yeah, I guess it is. I mean, and we're signed to a label in San Francisco.
Mm,
We were going to have this whole like launch for the record on a boat in the bay, like off
wow.
San Francisco. It was going to be this insane party, happening in autumn, and obviously, that's
Yeah.
gone. So that was quite a tough one to say goodbye to. Um, and yeah, it's the touring is a big thing. I kind of, it's a sort of things obviously change all the time in the music industry, and people kind of talk about what's how you push an album, and all the kind of stuff that has to go around it. But still, fundamentally, getting out and playing it to people is so much part of what it's about, and that's it's when we get to meet people who are into our music, and making that kind of physical connection in a room is so fundamental.
Got it.
And it's also, I mean, it's interesting because it's something we didn't think was going to be part of our band when we started. We were like, we thought it was a studio project when we
Oh,
started.
really?
Yeah, and it was, we didn't even know we'd be able to do it live really, because we thought it was all going to be too complicated, and it felt quite electronic, but the music felt quite electronic we were making, but we wanted it to be a kind of live, almost like a kind of Shaka Khan and Rufus kind of band. And
Okay.
it took us quite a long time to find the kind of the space between those two things, and get it working on a stage. But once we did, it was kind of we love it. We love playing live, and
Yeah. And
it's
when
hard.
did you guys kind of start forming your guys' brand Pet Prep?
It started, I think, by like 2015.
Okay.
Um, so there's four of us, and it was the other three actually kind of got together to make instrumentals. They kind of, well, they knew they wanted it to be a band, but they started working on some music without any like singing.
Were you
And
guys all
then
friends before, or how did that happen?
so I think the other guys might have all have met each other. Um, I only knew one guy. So Dan, who he plays guitar and kind of does a lot of the production. He and I had done quite a lot of songwriting for other people in
Okay.
London. So that's how I knew him, and we'd got on really well. And yeah, it's kind of, he brought me into this whole world of music. I didn't really, it wasn't really my thing.
Really?
This world of kind of like, I mean, I kind of got into this thing of writing quite a lot of R&B kind of stuff with
Wow.
him,
Okay.
with people in London. And I guess that, and again, that's not really the kind of the world that I'd come out of. And then he started playing me all these old like Steely Dan records and Bobby Caldwell and all this
Okay.
kind of like, this sort of slightly melancholy groove music. And I
Yeah.
really, yeah, I loved it. I really got it. And I think that was him kind of like pitching the job to me, really, of like, do you want to sing with this band? Which he now says he asked me to do because I had like the wrong voice for it.
The
I kind
wrong
of came out of like
voice.
indie bands and that kind of thing. And I think he liked the idea that it wouldn't be like a kind of someone who was a soul singer
Yeah.
singing on these kind of beats.
Gotcha.
Yeah, the
Um,
misfit, was invited in.
for your own like personal journey, because it sounds like this happened pretty organically for you. Like you weren't necessarily aiming to get into music at all, but it's just more of a genuine thing that happened. When did you first start dabbling into music? When you were a child, or?
Yeah, I've always done music. I mean, I kind of, I played instruments as a kid and did a lot of classical music, like kind of quite seriously. Until I was
Mm,
about 18, I guess, and then I was in, kind of bands at school, but then the first time it got serious, I guess, was university college.
okay.
Um, I was in a band with just friends. I mean, it was there wasn't any great kind of plan to it, but it started to happen a bit, and we got a deal actually. Um, I mean, it was crazy. We had a deal that was kind of like waiting for us when we left. So
Wow.
we just sort of went straight into that, and I did that for a bit, and then I played with a few different bands, and then I started this thing of writing for other people, and I kind of thought that's what I was going to be doing probably from then on. But I was kind of starting to miss the live performance. That's something you don't get when you're writing for other people.
Very
It's
true.
all just in the studio.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I was missing it a bit. So Dan popped the question right kind of time.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, when you were getting like kind of first acclimated to music and when you're first getting into it, who were some of your inspirations back then?
Uh, well, when I was first like getting into the idea of being in a band, it was like Radiohead were really massive for me, and Bjork, really loved her. Quite a lot of like kind of 60s West Coast stuff, like I really like Buffalo Springfield and Crosby, Stills and Nash and Neil Young.
Okay.
Um, and
Very
and then quite a lot
diverse.
of like electronic music. I got really into like Caribou. I remember when he kind of released his first record. That was a really big one for me. So the first band I was in, I guess, was trying to kind of mix that slightly sort of psychedelic guitar stuff with electronic kind of
Yeah.
sounds.
And your guys' sound for prep is really unique. It's a lot different than other bands. So if you were to explain it to somebody who never heard you before, maybe how would you explain your sound? And I guess I hate to categorize music. I don't
No,
know.
it's got to be done. It's got to
Yeah,
be
has to be
done.
some
Yeah.
type of genre. How would you categorize as your guys' sound?
Well, it's kind of it's groove music. It's always got a groove. That's really fundamental.
Hmm.
And it's kind of taking stuff from that world of, I guess, 70s funk, and also from people like Steely Dan who were drawing on those kind of influences and bits of like jazz harmony, and
Hmm.
then turning it into something a bit different and a bit melancholy. That's kind of one of the ways we always talk about it. It's these kind of quite up, energetic grooves, uh, but with these songs on top that are kind of often a bit sad and a bit introspective. That seems to be the sort of that's a sweet spot we all quite enjoy, I think.
Okay. And how did you guys form all these different sounds to kind of mesh it into what you guys have now? Did you guys have different interests that kind of aligned, or did it just kind of happen organically for you?
I think we all had really different interests. So, like, one of us is a classical composer. He
Mm,
kind of has written operas and kind of did all that quite seriously.
wow.
One of us is a house DJ and was like, touring, doing all of that stuff. Dan was this kind of like, I guess he was producing quite a lot of hip hop and bits of reggae stuff. And then I kind of came from a kind of indie-ish background, and then had got into writing all this kind of like a mixture of like house music and R&B music. So we all kind of came from these slightly different places, but the thing we had was we'd all developed this really massive enthusiasm at the same time for this kind of like smooth music, you know, like Steely Dan, that
Yeah.
kind of world of stuff. And also, and then people like kind of Thundercat and Mac DeMarco, maybe, who kind of, you know, draw on that sort of, play with those kind of threads now.
Right. Yeah, and I think it says a lot about you guys as a band. I think it shows that you guys are really open-minded to having new ideas that mesh together because it sounds good. It sounds like it goes together, and it's not necessarily something that you'd think of offhand, but it works. So, talk
Great.
about that. Talk about the importance of being able to have an open mind with music, and having other band members having open minds with it as well.
I think it's really important. I mean, it's something we're probably all like much better at it than we would have been in our like first bands. You know, I
Really.
think there's much less, it's weird, there's much less ego when we're working on stuff. You know, everyone has their opinions. There's a lot of disagreement. There's a lot of like decisions taking a long time.
Yeah.
But I feel like there isn't that thing that I've had in bands I've been in before where like, you know, someone has to have their idea on the
Mm.
record because it's their idea and they can't say goodbye to it. And, you know, they feel like they're kind of somehow being done out of their inheritance if they're
Yeah,
not.
well, if you think about it,
Their
it's like
lick doesn't end up on the song. So it is all quite open like that. But at the same time, I think one of the things that works really well for us is that it is kind of genre music. You know, we
Mm.
know the world it has to inhabit. We know what we're making, and we could all go off and write songs that were definitely not prep songs, but we all have this understanding. I think this shared understanding of what they need to be to work for this band, and that's a really, really important thing to have, I think.
Yeah, because your guys are like, this is what we want prep to be, and this is how we want others to perceive us to be, right? And
Yeah.
I think that when you have so many, not so many people, there's only four of you guys, but when you have different people involved that are living out their passions, it's going to be hard sometimes to tell somebody no to like, oh, we don't necessarily want to put that in this project, right? Um, so yeah, I think that's awesome. I think it sounds good. When is that project that you were talking about earlier going to be coming out?
So the album is coming out in October.
In October, okay.
Yeah, that's I should know the date, but it's coming. I can't remember the exact date. It's coming in October though. Yeah, and it's been such a rush. I mean, you know, we've been trying to get the mixes all finished this last week, and it's mastered today. I haven't listened to it. You know,
Oh,
I don't know
really?
if it's kind of you know, we might have a couple of notes to give, but basically, it's done, and then it's going to be a couple of singles, and then the record dropping in October.
And
And
what is
it's
this?
crazy. I mean, we've only put out EPs before now,
Oh, really?
and you know, we would all have loved to do an album much sooner, I think, but we just, you know, it was kind of hard to just carve out the time and say, we're just gonna do it. So
Yeah. So this has kind of been like a blessing in disguise for you guys then, as far as giving you
it kind of
enough time.
has. Yeah, I mean, you know, we took the last 3 months of last year to basically try and write everything,
Wow.
um, and then it's the recording bit and the production that's sort of happened during lockdown, really. I mean, some of the recording was already done, but yeah, a lot of that stuff's been happening during lockdown. Yeah, and like I was saying earlier, you know, I think we'd have really, I don't know when we'd have got it done, frankly, if the kind of schedule had just kind of kept ticking along as it was supposed to, we'd have been pushed for time for sure.
Yeah. So what can we expect from this album? What is it about? What inspired it? Talk to me a little bit more about that.
I mean, it's kind of, it definitely is. It's all within the world that people who already know our music, I think, will know us for. You know, we haven't tried to like break out of that particularly. Um, so it's kind of yeah, it's that thing I guess I was talking about earlier. You know, they're all kind of quite strong grooves. We try and make sure that each one has a very particular like atmosphere to it in the production. So there'll be like, you know, a sound is at the core of every song,
Right.
and then the songs are. I mean, they're the, you know, the kind of things I guess I tend to end up writing about. It's like about not being with people you want to be with, and missed opportunities,
Mm,
that kind of thing. It's that sort of territory that that's where my head tends to go when I hear the prep stuff, because that's how the writing works for us. Basically, the other guys, they make instrumentals, so I
right.
hear a song that's kind of basically fully formed. It just doesn't have a voice on it, and then I kind of imagine my way into it and write on the top. Yeah, and that's where I tend to go.
Why do you think you tend to go there? Is it just past experiences that you've had?
I think it's yeah, maybe, kind of instinctively slightly melancholic, and it's something I particularly like about, it's one thing to sort of sit and write sad songs at a piano, and they can end up sounding a bit kind of mopey.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
if you're writing sad songs over these pretty kind of punchy beats,
Right.
this feels, it kind of has a completely different energy, and I find that yeah, it's a really different world of kind of imagery that comes into my head when I'm writing prep stuff.
Yeah. And for you, your voice sounds very melodic, and to me at least, and it goes
Oh,
well
thanks.
with the instruments. So I think that it combats it from sounding kind of mopey.
Yeah, it should never sound mopey. It's always got to sound kind of up, and there's songs that people can dance to,
Mm-hmm.
brackets, quite slowly,
Yeah.
but also they should work late at night on the headphones. When you're back from a night out that hasn't quite gone the way you wanted it to go.
It could serve two purposes, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So what do you guys have besides the album? Do you guys have anything else you guys have in the works coming up in the near future?
I mean, there's some singles coming,
Okay.
and there's some, we're going to try and do some more performance videos, whatever they end up being,
Okay.
but we need to do some more of that, I think. Because, yeah, it just, if that's the way we have to do it, if that's the way we have to kind of, if we, if we want to play live to people and that's how we have to do it, then let's do it like that. But I think we'd want to, if we're going to do like a film performance, we'd want to do it properly, and like not just sort of stick an iPhone in the corner and play. So we're kind of
Yeah.
working on that at the moment, trying to think up what it would be.
Yeah.
But we've got, yeah, there's a great we found some really good visual collaborators,
Okay.
and that really helps. There's a guy who's always done our artwork, who's brilliant, um, and then there's this amazing woman who's taken photos for us, who's also kind of getting involved in video stuff. And we've got a really good, we've found a team, I think, at just the right time. It's all, there's lots to explore.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Everyone's adjusting to this creatively and finding ways to do things that they haven't done previously. In a way, it's kind of taking you out of your comfort zone, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and it's awesome to hear that you guys are trying to do the same. Are you where can people find your work? And if you do end up doing live performances like that through video streams, would it be on Twitch or would it be on YouTube or
I think I think it's probably going to be like a pre-filmed thing. So I
okay,
guess it'll end up on like YouTube.
got it.
Um, yeah, I mean, our stuff, YouTube's the place for our stuff. Spotify is where the tunes are.
Yeah.
Apple Music as well. I think they're on Apple Music. I think they're on Apple Music. They must
I
be on
think you
Apple
are
Music.
too. I checked you out on
Okay.
Apple Music,
Right,
so you're
cool.
there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So talk a little bit about that because music is like ever evolving. Just to think about where it was 10, 15, 20 years ago to where it is now. Do you like where music is headed as far as just technology wise and streaming becoming like the prevalent thing and kind of vinyls and CDs being done away with? What are your thoughts about that? And are you excited for what's to come?
I'm really excited. Yeah, I mean, I kind of, we still make records, and people really
Okay.
like the records, and it's, you can see how kind of exciting it is for people to kind of hold an object that we try and make
Yeah,
sure looks really nice, and that has an importance, I think.
it does.
Streaming is, I mean, like streaming is just extraordinary, isn't it? The fact you can just like listen to whatever you want, everything is there.
Yeah.
Great. I mean, I slightly, like everyone, I kind of, there's those moments when I wish I could concentrate a bit better, and I wonder, like, why the hell am I looking at the listen count on this song? What's that got to do with anything? and stuff like that. But broadly speaking, it's an exciting world, and it's for a band like us, we can kind of we can get some, we can kind of keep the show going with streaming income. That's
Hmm.
really important to us, and
Yeah.
it can work much better than the old model for bands like us, for sure. But I think there's also really interesting stuff going on with. I mean, this record that Beyonce dropped, like, was it today? Which I haven't listened to yet, but this sort of, which I think is
Black is
like,
King.
which is like a kind of, it's a visual kind of experience, and as much as it is a music one. I mean, I guess it's a similar thing to kind of Lemonade was. All of that
Yeah.
stuff's really interesting. The potential to sort of make pieces of work that aren't just a song, or that if they're a song with video, maybe they're not quite a music video in the way it would have been in the 80s on MTV. There's some. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how songs shift. I mean, it's I do a lot of writing for other people still, and that kind of thing that started happening about a couple of years ago of people really like, I'd be in sessions with artists and they'd be like really, really insistent that they didn't want a big chorus on a song. Had to be like kind of understated and like another kind of nothing chorus.
Huh.
That kind of, I mean, that's kind of quite a subtle shift, but I think that's one that you probably happened because of Spotify.
Yeah.
Just because.
Retention of the song and
Well, yeah, but also things getting a bit sort of quieter somehow, and I mean, maybe it's something to do with how. Um, I mean, the bad side of it, I guess, is music becoming a bit more backgroundy in a lot of instances. But the good side of it is, yeah, people trying to have really good, strong ideas which are kind of catchy in new ways. And it's not just like going for the obvious move. It's like trying to find a real flash of genuine inspiration and pin a song on that.
yeah. There's a
Yeah,
lot
it's
of
kind
pros and
of
cons
right.
to it. For sure. And I think one of the biggest pros to it is the window of opportunity that it makes for a lot of independent artists, as far as getting their work out there. Before
Yeah,
streaming, it was like you almost always needed a record label to kind of distribute your music. Now that you don't necessarily need the record label for that. I think it's opening a lot of doors for a lot of young artists out there. But like you said, there's also, it's like changing the landscape of how people are making music as well, which is a silver lining kind of there.
mm,
But to speak to what you said earlier about just having a live performance there and missing that, and just having vinyls, a physical piece of something that you can keep forever. There's nothing really compared to that. And for me, at least, I'm really into having all five, all, like, not all five, but having as much senses satisfied as possible. And I think that's why having live shows is so important, because you're hearing sound, you're having that sense satisfied. You're seeing visuals, you're smelling things, you're feeling things,
yeah,
which versus just hearing something online. And I think that's why Beyonce's most recent project that she put out um, is so cool and unique, just because you have something to match to the audio. You have visuals to
mm.
create that experience that you spoke to earlier. So I'm really excited to see you guys put something out once you guys figure that out. Definitely, I think other people are as well, as far as your fans.
Yeah, wicked. I mean, Beyonce sets a high bar, but let's see what we can do.
Yeah,
No,
I mean,
it's gonna be interesting times, and I think, yeah, I mean, we kind of wanted to make this record in a way quite traditionally, kind of as a nod to a lot of the quite, kind of traditional acts that we've really been inspired by in the making of it. But yeah, the next record, who knows where it will go? It could be, it's going to be interesting.
yeah.
It could be a really different thing.
And you guys got a lot of time on your hands coming up later, if you guys won't be touring, right? You can
Well,
do.
yeah, if another tour is cancelled, yeah, it could be a second album, like, sooner than we're expecting. Who
Awesome.
knows?
I'm sure a lot of people look forward to that. Where can people find you guys on social? Where can people connect with you if they want to connect with you?
We're on Instagram. Um, we're on Facebook a bit and Twitter a bit, but Instagram's the main one.
Okay.
And then, yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, go ahead for the Instagram.
Definitely give my man a follow. Other than that, do you have any last words?
No, it's been great, really great to chat. Thanks, Liz. It's nice, to it's been amazing. This sort of like weird lockdown situation, being shut inside a house in London, but then getting to, chat through a screen to people. So you're in LA?
Yeah, yeah. I'm over
Yeah.
here in downtown Los Angeles,
Oh,
pretty
man,
close to
down.
the Echo where you performed at before.
Right.
So
Great. Well, look, yeah, we were there not so long ago. I hope it won't be too long before we're back.
yeah, definitely. I'll keep an eye on your guys' happenings, and if you guys do come out to LA, you'll catch me at a show for sure.
Wicked. Well, we'll see you there.
Awesome. All
We'll
right,
make it
Tom.
happen.
I appreciate you coming on. I know it's a little late out there. Eight
Oh, man,
hours.
don't worry about that. It's been great to chat.
Yeah, appreciate
Thanks for
it.
having me.
Of course, enjoy the rest of your night, and I'm looking forward to your next happenings coming out pretty soon.
Wicked. All right.
All right.
Thanks so
See ya.
much.
No
Great to meet
problem.
you. Bye now.